It's a perfect Texas spring day. I'm about an hour outside of Houston, and I'm at Gary Kubiak's ranch. Of course, head coach of the Texans from 2006 through 2013. But hey, the story begins much earlier in the city of Houston, as a schoolboy quarterback, maybe the greatest high school quarterback in Texas state history at St. Pius. And then he was a legend at Texas A&M. Spent a long time as a player with the Broncos in the NFL, and then he was an assistant before he came to Houston. It's time to catch up with him. I haven't seen him since 2013, and this is really special for me, so come along.
Born in Houston, raised in Houston, what better way to lead the Houston Texans than to be led by a Houston Texan? It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you our new head coach, Gary Kubiak.
Drew, what's happening?
Coach, it's fantastic to see you.
Thanks for coming out, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been too long.
I'm looking forward to it. Great to see you.
You look good. You look good. I love this. This is it's your new home.
Yeah,
huh?
it's kind of a nice place that Rhonda's created out here where I can hang out for a little bit. It's something I kind of got going, back when I was coaching, about 10, 12 years ago. And it keeps me close to Houston, but yet I'm out of the traffic a little bit. So just loving it out here right now, spending some great time with her.
I like it. It's great stuff. Well, hey, we don't want to get in the way. What do we got going on today? Let's go. Just
I don't
follow
know.
you around.
We can kind of do whatever you guys want to do.
Okay.
We can feed a cow, or we can catch a fish.
I got my boots. So
or we can just hang out. How about that?
So, Coach, you got this about 15 so years ago. What's going on out here? I mean, this is pretty extensive.
Yeah, it was an interesting story. I was at the combine in Indianapolis, sitting in the stands, watching guys work out, and my brother-in-law, who lives not far from here, I would always tell him, if you ever see a piece of property come for sale out in Grimes County out there, I'd be interested, because I'd love to come back home someday when I'm done, And so he calls me that day and he says, hey, there's this piece of property going on the market, and it's not going to be on there for long, so if you're interested, you better, act. Called home, told Rhonda, go ahead, put a bid in on it, and we bought it, and it was actually raw land. And so then it became like a project for us. I'm not a farmer, I don't know much about it, but,
you grew up in Houston,
but I'm learning, and I love messing with the cows, but I just got to where I love it, and yet I can hop in my truck, and in 45 minutes I can be in Houston visiting my mom, and go to all my favorite Houston places. So kind of keeps me tied to everything that's going on, but yet I got my own little piece of quiet out here. Nobody talks back out here. The cows don't talk back. This is, like I said, this is my favorite place out here. It's kind of my getaway from her house, Got some little cool stuff, some mementos out here, but this is my man cave, so. And when she can't find me, I'm usually sitting in one of these chairs and probably watching TV and having a cold beer or something, and I'll be home in a little bit, Buddy. We're good, come on. I have all these things around the sill. Okay, my house has got enough football crap in it, so I started putting all my stuff out here. There's some pictures that, were with me back in the day. I look at, I think that's actually the locker room after the Cincinnati playoff game, I think. I'm not positive.
Wow.
So, you got things like that reminding you of various times.
What do you remember about your high school days, though? You were lighting it up, and that was a time when it was most of the teams around the nation, and certainly in Texas, they were running the ball, and you were throwing.
Yeah, we did. The first thing that comes to mind when I think about St. Pius, I think about Renee Hancock, coached me at St. Pius. He was my football coach, he was my basketball coach, you know, so he's like a dad to me, you know. So growing up with him was a tremendous honor. He taught me more about probably life than sports. You know, he taught me how to be responsible, how to be a good kid. We might have been ahead of our time a little bit over there at St. Pius. You know, he loved to throw the ball, so we threw it around and we had some success. That gave us a chance to compete with bigger schools because we were pretty good at doing it. We won a few games. Of course, St. Pius is still going strong, so I get a chance to go by there every now and then. Great time in my life, good people.
So was the choice for A&M, was it just easy? Did you always know where you were going? What was the recruiting like?
It wasn't easy. I visited Notre Dame, Texas, Baylor. All of a sudden, what happened was A&M was kind of starting to throw the football a little bit. Tom Wilson was there. So that's how I ended up there. You know, I ended up playing there. I played for Jackie Sherrill for 1 year, which probably has a lot to do with how I got to pro football. I ran Dan Marino's system. You know, he taught me Dan Marino's system. And so I ran it for 1 year, and all of a sudden I got a chance to play pro football. So Jackie had a big influence on me, you know, getting an opportunity in the National Football League.
Do you look back on your time there and just thank your lucky stars? Because it looked like it was a storybook time for you.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, we weren't some national contender or anything. We had a couple of really good years. Southwest Conference was amazing. I look back, you know, people don't know about it, but, you know, time went by very fast. Once an Aggie, always an Aggie.
When do you think the first seeds of, hey, maybe I'll be a coach someday, when do you think those were planted? Or was it something all along the way?
I actually thought about that when I got out of college, you know, and all of a sudden playing got in the way. You know, I got to play for another 9-10 years. So I thought about teaching and coaching. That was something I always wanted to do. My last year playing in Denver, I had back issues, so I kind of knew, hey, I'm done. This is it for me. So I played that last year, and so I started thinking about coaching, what's going to be my next job. I had talked to RC for about the previous month, telling him what my intentions were when I got out of football, and he had offered me a job. So all of a sudden, I had to make a decision. What am I going to do? Well, when you're married to a Texas girl who grew up in Houston and mom and dad lived in this little town I'm in now, you knew where I was going.
Boy, I tell you, I think I was more calm this past Sunday on the field than I am right now. But no, it's good. It's great to be back. If somebody would have told me 10 years ago that I was going to get to play 9 years in the National Football League and then return to Texas A&M, with a beautiful family and get started in coaching, I would have taken it right there.
And you kind of wound your way to the Bay Area shortly thereafter. You got in another fantastic situation.
Yeah, I got a pretty good job. My first job in pro football, I got to coach Steve Young, you know, so. But no, you know, obviously Shanahan had coached me in Denver. Me and Mike were really close, and Mike was the offense coordinator of the 49ers, and he called me and said, I want you to fly out here, you know, would you like to coach quarterbacks out here? But I went there, I was only there for a year. Right after the Super Bowl, he's the head coach of Denver Broncos. I'm going with him to Denver, and now I'm going there for 14 years.
Coach, you got a beautiful spread of land. You got a beautiful house. Tell me about what do we got going on here?
Well, the barn behind you, the party barn we call it, it's kind of where she threw my sports stuff, you know, so that stuff gets thrown in places. You know,
got cool sports stuff.
I can't put that where anything where she doesn't want me, or any place she doesn't want me to. So when we have people out, these garage doors open up, we have a good time and listen to music, and I got me a treadmill upstairs so I can try to keep kicking. Coming in, come on in. Oh.
Wow. Get some great pictures, great jerseys. You got a nice silver trophy over there.
Yeah, when you're fortunate enough to be a part of that as a head coach, the league gives you a very nice trophy to have for memories for many, many years. So, yeah, that was kind of presented to me through the league from Coach Shanahan in a lot of ways, and something I'll always cherish or treasure, I should say. And, I've been fortunate. I've been a part of 4 of those, but that one will always be kind of special, so.
Houston's your home. This is your home now, but Denver, in so many ways, that's your second home.
Yeah, between coaching and playing, I think I was there 26, 27 years. That doesn't happen in this business. So very connected there with friends and family. My kids were really kind of raised there, in a lot of ways. Great organization, great people. I can always say they've won 3 world championships, and I was part of all 3 of them, so that's pretty cool. So
when you're the head coach It's got to feel a little different though than when you were the assistant. I mean, how special was that?
There was some pressure because they had a really good team that had come up short, you know, and they had a Hall of Fame quarterback who was maybe in his last year or two. Nobody knew. So, you know, for me, it was really a no-brainer because I love Mr. Bolin. I love his family. John, I'm very close to John. It worked out pretty good, but yeah, there was some pressure, but it was good pressure and tremendous time.
All right, so you had a hell of a lot of success as an assistant in Denver. The head coaching itch is starting to get scratched, and then you take the job in Houston. I mean, how easy a decision was that for you? What was that process like, interviewing, you know, it coming about, all that?
You know, it was very easy. We were in the middle of a playoff run there in Denver. We had a really good team. We were 1 seed, and you know, I had done my interview with Bob and Charlie, and man, I'm like, holy smokes, I'm gonna be a head coach here and get to go back home. So that was a no-brainer for me. And I still remember going down somewhere downtown for the press conference. You know, that was a dream come true.
Starting out in the NFL, Niners, Broncos, those were Tiffany franchises. Those were, you know, creme de la creme. How tough was the task in front of you when you got here in 06?
Well, first off, I have great respect for Don Capers and the job they did to take on a starter franchise, you know. And the one thing about the NFL, you can do everything right, okay? It's still hard to win. But the thing we have to do is go do everything right, and then let's see if we can make it happen. So we had our work cut out for us. We won 6 games in year 1. We beat the world champs, which was I think that was huge for the city, for Bob, for everybody saying, okay, we're doing this right, you know. And we had our steps along the way to get to where we were going. But, you know, Drew, it's a great business, but it's just so hard. The difference between winning 7 and winning 11 is probably about 8 to 10 plays a year. I mean, that's how hard this league is. But you know, to see Houston now making the playoffs throughout these past few years and having some really good teams, and the expectations there are tremendous now, you know. So I like to think that we were all part of those expectations. So that's a good thing, you know, because that's why you do what you do.
I love this. This is fantastic. And it's kind of like the George Strait song. You got some oceanfront property in Arizona. And
that's not a very big ocean out there, Drew. It's more like a 9-acre lake. How about
I
that?
like it, though. You're on the water, Coach. You're on the water.
Yeah, I love just, you know, it's kind of a scenery place to have some get-togethers and parties here. And when the wind's not blowing too hard, I'm on my boat out there trying to see if I can catch a few of them. So just kind of something for the family to enjoy, and I tend to enjoy it probably more than anybody.
It still seems weird to say you're retired, if just, you know, full disclosure.
Just not working right now, Drew.
That's
you know,
right.
I'm working at home.
So 2009, Texans are winners, 9-7. Take a step back, 6-10 in 2010, and then in the midst of a lockout, you know, Schaub goes down, Mario Williams goes down, but you guys go into the playoffs. I mean, what was that season like as far as just fun? I mean, how much fun did you have as a coach that year?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think the thing that made it so, Drew, I think in coaching, sometimes the greatest challenges that happen during the season have a lot to do with, you know, whether magic happens, those types. And all of a sudden we were a team that was using every player we had. I think the greatest thing that I'll always take out of that year, Drew, was now there were expectations for the Houston Texans franchise, you know, and I think it became a team that was relevant in the league, and people looked at them in a little different light than maybe they did a few years before that when it was time to play them. And but I think becoming a winning franchise and a team that people looked at that way meant a lot to me.
What about 2012? Because you guys go 11-1 to start the next year. I mean, you talk about expectations being different. You guys were answering them too. I mean, what do you, when you think back about that season, what do you remember?
Well, I mean, we might have been playing as good as anybody in the game there over a period of time, and then, yeah, that was disappointing because we were really smoking at the time, and then it didn't work out for us. But you'd beg for that opportunity year in, year out, wouldn't you?
And the next year's so weird because you mentioned a few minutes ago in the house. I mean, the line between 7 wins and 11 wins, sometimes it's just a few plays. Is it simply just a matter of circumstances, you know, in a lot of different ways that caused what happened in 13?
You know, Drew, it's interesting. We started 2-0, right?
Yeah.
We had that late Monday night opener in San Diego.
Yep.
Go to overtime. Our first 2 games it had some wear and tear on our team, but we're 2-0 and we're a good football team. And then, boy, we couldn't win a close game, you know, and that's the fine line in the National Football League. When the dauber gets going one way mentally, you know, and it seems like every time you're there to win a game or make that play, you're not making it. It can go the other way real quick too. So, you know, that's part of football. And, you know, ended up not being a good year for me, and the team moved on from me after that. But I have great respect for the opportunity they gave me. I worked as hard that year as I did the good year, you know, so I'm proud of that. But I understand it. That's all part of the game.
Coach, was there a certain spot in your career, in your life, where football was at its best, at its purest?
I don't think I could say that, Drew. I think the thing that meant the most to me about the game, be it playing or coaching or relationships, you know. So yeah, I got some nice trophies. They mean a lot to me, but it's the relationship with players, scouts, people that work in the cafeteria, the film guys, the trainers, you guys, you know, all those relationships with good people that have done it for so long. And when they tell you you did something right, that's a good feeling.
One of the great things I've learned along the way in this business is the number one thing you got to do when you get going with the team is you got to have expectations. You got to have a standard. But I want y'all to know my dream is to see the city win a championship someday. That is our ultimate goal. And when I wake up tomorrow, we'll start working toward that.
Lighting it up at St. Pius, ball boy for the Oilers, Texas A&M, NFL player, assistant coach in the NFL, head coach in the NFL. You ever look back and think, holy cow, how did this happen? How surreal?
Yeah, the first thing, Drew, time flies, you know, so you better enjoy it. That's probably the first thing. But yeah, it's been really special for me. And, you know, God, when I start talking to you or somebody and I mention a name and people go, you were with him, you know? And, you know, I don't know what to say. I just feel very blessed. And, you know, for the game in a lot of ways to bring me right back home, not many people can say that. So that's something I'm looking forward to. All right, Drew, so you drilled me when I was coaching, you know, and you asked me all these questions. You guys come out here, you've been drilling me for 2.5 hours. How about we fish a little bit?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.